Thanks for tuning into the Zelos Podcast. I'm your host, Rocky Snyder. This week, Abe Edson's in the house with me. He's the assistant strength conditioning coach for the NHL's Minnesota Wild. We're going to talk all about the upcoming season, the Olympic break, and a whole lot more. Before we get underway, be sure to head over to my website, rockysnyder.com. We've got continuing education workshops, in-person, online, archived podcast episodes. There's blogs, and if you want to train with me, either virtually or in person, we can get that underway too. And just a heads up, next month, the beginning of February, I am partnering up with Bill Parisi and the Parisi Speed School, Dr. Emily Splickle of Nabozo and Barefoot Training Academy. We're putting on an 8-week webinar, so stay tuned for that. Here's a little note from our sponsors before we get underway. This episode of the Zelos Podcast is sponsored by Kinetic IQ, where intelligence meets motion. Kinetic IQ brings a biomechanics lab into the palm of your hand, letting you measure movement anytime, anywhere, with just an iPad or an iPhone, and no wearables required. I've been using Kinetic IQ's markerless motion capture in my own practice, and whether you're screening athletes, analyzing posture and gait mechanics, optimizing performance, or guiding return to play, it helps practitioners like us save time, capture more objective data, and make instant actionable decisions. So to learn more about how Kinetic IQ is shaping the future of intelligent movement, visit them at kinetikiq.com. That's KINETIKIQ.com. You know, I can't tell you how thrilled I am to have Metabolic Elite be one of the sponsors of the Zelos Podcast. You know what makes Metabolic Elite different is their commitment to real results. I've seen a lot of supplements and performance enhancement things over the years, but they pair clinical experience with innovation, like Lipitab, their proprietary solid-state liposomal delivery system. It's a chewable format which enhances absorption, like nutrients like BPC 157 and synapses. They're delivered more efficiently in the body, supporting recovery, focus, cognitive health. Their formulas go beyond the basics, solving performance health challenges at the system level. Every product is tested for quality, it's backed by research, it's trusted by athletes and clinicians alike. So learn more at metabolicelite.co. And you can get 10% off all of Metabolic Elite products by entering the coupon code ZELOS, ZELOS. And before we get underway, be sure to follow us on Instagram at Rocky_Snyder, SNYDER. Click subscribe, give us some comments, tell a few friends, enjoy the show. Well, it seems like we're halfway through National Hockey League season, and we've got the Minnesota Wild and the San Jose Sharks kind of middle of the road in the standings right now, but I have a feeling that they're both going to rise, at least my Sharks. I'm hoping that way. And I'll say the same thing for the Wild because I've got Abe Edson here with me. He's the assistant strength conditioning coach for the Minnesota Wild. And you're on the West Coast right now, up in Seattle, right?
Yep. All the way up in Seattle right now. Got a sunny day, so we're taking it and going.
Man, we have had nothing but rain here on the Pacific Northwest and the West Coast here. And this is like the first day of sunshine. So don't think that that's the norm here. But first, welcome to the Zelos Podcast, Abe.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, man. So it sounds like you live and breathe hockey. I'm imagining you grew up playing hockey.
Yep. Yeah, I grew up playing hockey. I played all the way till I was 24, actually, for a club team at Penn State. And just, I loved it. So still in it, probably more than I ever thought I would be, but it's been great.
What made you get into strength conditioning?
Kind of a similar story to most people. Got hurt, started doing rehab stuff, started training, and then just kind of fell in love with it. I played junior hockey out in Massachusetts when I was 19, and then I played another season in Philly when I was 20, and I got hurt that year. Actually got stepped on by a skate, and stupid injury, but it ended up kind of changing my life around in a positive way. So it was kind of unique. My coach, he had I wouldn't call it a performance training, but he had a hockey treadmill, and he worked for a stick company too. And he just took me under his wing. He was like, you know what, you're not playing right now. You want to just help us out. So I would run the hockey treadmill. We would do like high speed cameras. We do a lot of like, I mean, I was looking at biomechanics before I even knew how to spell biomechanics. It was pretty funny that way. And then we were also doing a lot of stuff with like shooting analysis. So it was just a cool way to like combine the sport that I obviously loved and knew the best with sort of cutting edge stuff going on. It was really just unique. So that was like my first notion of like seeing, performance and like how you could actually change around some performance. I always grew up exercising, like super ADHD kid. So always was doing stuff, running around, being a knucklehead, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it just ever since then, I was like, wow, this is what I'm going to do. And I know I want to stay in hockey and I actually have some passion towards it. So went to school at Penn State, studied kinesiology. The goal was always to get to the NHL. I kind of told myself like the rule was though is like you're gonna have an internship in college, pro and private before you decide anything, and did
Wow.
that. So I started with Penn State under Cam Davidson. Actually, he was awesome. So he was with the hockey team there. Just same kind of thing. Like I've been fortunate enough with my mentors. They all kind of took me under their wing, and I don't know. I felt like it was a right fit for me in terms of that. Um, but yeah, I was with the men's hockey team and some other sports too, like women's lacrosse. I was with Christina Jeffries there, who's still actually with Penn State hockey right now. So just a whole blend of different teams, women's volleyball, track and field. So it was unique, it was really cool. I
Yeah.
for sure. And then I went out to Bakersfield, California under Patrick Love, who's now with he's like the main kind of sports scientist with Catapult. Um, and I was with him for a season, and then I went to under Ben Prentice for a summer. And then
Wow.
after I kind of went through all that, I was like, all right, I know pros what I want to be in. Like I love the team setting. I love working with just one team, 25 athletes, full attention. Be with the team when they win, be with the team when they lose, like really feel all that emotion. So yeah, I went back out to Bakersfield for another season, did my master's degree with California University of Pennsylvania online, which actually suited really well for that.
Nice.
Then I got a job in the AHL with the St. Louis Blues, and I was there for 6 seasons. So 2 years in San Antonio. We moved up to Springfield, Massachusetts, and we were actually only there for 3 seasons because of COVID, but it was basically 4 seasons.
Right on. And when you were playing hockey and junior hockey in Massachusetts, whereabouts was that?
That was in Walpole, Mass, and
All
then
right.
it was
Right
basically
by
just
the prison?
yeah, right next to it, almost in it. Yeah, Walpole, and then in Philly, it was like pretty close to like Westchester area.
Right on. And Springfield, I was up north of UMass Amherst, so
Yeah,
I
right there.
grew up north of Boston, so I was a
Yeah,
Bees fan for most of my life, except when I moved out here and the Sharks
yeah,
just took my heart away. So
yeah,
and they crush it just as nicely as the Bruins do too. So anyway, man, you like you said, you've had some amazing mentors. Ben
yeah. I've
Prentice,
been
that is
super fortunate.
fantastic.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. It's kind of funny. I've been almost in every single place in the NHL and the AHL now. There's a couple I'm missing in the AHL that I probably am not going to get to, but yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun moving around and just seeing new cities and how it works.
So, what were some of the defining lessons or experiences like early in your career as you were transitioning through the AHL into the NHL that have somehow like shaped your coaching philosophy? Can
Yeah, I don't.
what are some landmark moments?
Yeah, I think like I don't know. I always like I revert back to my intern days all the time, like all the time. It's such a pure moment of your career because you don't deal with anything else than the job. And I just remember like learning under Patty, and he said this one quote to me that was like so descriptive of the next 7 years of my life in the AHL. And he was just like, everybody here is trying to get to the NHL. And it's like, no duh. But then he's like, every single person, you, me, the coaches, the janitor, like everybody, right? And I thought like then I was just like engulfed in you know, the wealth of like development. Like I chose like, yeah, you're trying to develop the players to the NHL, but I'm trying to develop myself to get there as well. So
Good point.
it was a unique like role that I had in that sense of like I kind of took ownership of like trying to get better every year as well. And like I felt like I always like would reflect at the end of the season and think on things that I might be able to do better that could one help the team, help the players, but also help myself maybe look more appealing or also like, do better work overall. So I'd always try to add elements in like, force plates were obviously something that we added in eventually. I remember the one year up in training camp, I don't know why I did this to myself, but we used to, this was in St. Louis, but we would do like on ice testing. And I filmed every single on ice test. And I took a slow motion camera, this like tagging system. It's called Binary Sports. And I just studied the stride basically, but it was like 42 hours of screen time just staring the whole entire time. It was so funny to think back on that, but it was cool. It was cool to see and just like kind of gain insight into research that's not exactly like out there on NHL players specifically. I think it's a little bit better now. That was about 5 or 6 years ago. But yeah, just stuff like that, always trying to develop and just trying to get better. That's been kind of that's how I just go about it.
Yeah, I love it because you say it so succinctly and a great perspective where everyone is trying to get to the NHL. Everyone's trying to improve. We've spoken to so many people on this podcast about how they improve as a coach or trainer and therapist, but putting into that perspective changes it for me. It's like, yeah, absolutely right. Everyone from the players, young, old, whatever,
Mm.
to all the support staff, everyone's trying to progress and improve. I love that. I'm going to hold on to that for a while.
Yeah, and
So,
it's cool because it's AHL is a small staff. Like we only had support staff wise, there was only five of us, and you have to be a family. Like you got to help each other. Like we had Thanksgiving together, we had Christmas together, we did everything together, and it was because of that, right? Like everybody strived to be to the next level, and it's kind of cool. Of those five, three are in the NHL now, and the other two they were assistants, and now they're heads in the AHL. So kind
nice.
of cool in the sense that everybody's growing and developing and just graduating to the next career and next venture, right?
You stay in contact with them loosely?
Oh yeah, the text chain's always rolling and it's a little funny, but yeah, it's always going. And now it's cool because like when I go to St. Louis, some of them are there, so I get to see them, or one's in Raleigh now, so like I get to see him there, and it's cool to just see how like everybody's dispersing, but also like staying connected.
Right on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, let's talk a little S&C. So, obviously, high impact, high contact sport. I mean, it's like NFL and NHL. It doesn't get much more impacting there. So, there's a whole bunch of stress on the body from the explosive skating to the hits and of course rapid changes on the ice in terms of directional change, acceleration, deceleration.
Mm.
What are some of the like performance priorities that you focus on like during the season, like now that you're in it to
Yeah.
support performance and sustainability or durability?
Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, like there's obviously me on staff, but there's PTs, there's ATs, there's two other strength coaches as well. So I think we all kind of have to have like all hands on deck for it. The ATs are always doing manual therapy with the guys, like making sure that the tissue's in a good position. On our side of things, like I kind of think that same way too. Like early on, like let's make sure posture wise, like we're still fighting the hockey posture all the time, right? Which is like, super tall chest, like hinged at the back, tight hip flexors, all that kind of stuff. Like weakened hamstrings usually becomes a thing, internally rotated shoulders. So like we're trying to fight that throughout the course of the year,
Keep
right?
going though. Keep going if you don't mind. Sorry to interrupt, but I geek out on posture. So
Yeah,
hockey
yeah,
posture, okay, internally rotated bilateral, but one more than the other probably because of stiff
yeah, for
posture.
sure, for sure. And then sometimes you'll get like some lateral sway, or like you'll get some like kind of like crunch to the side, right? Like if they're lefty, if they're shooting a bunch, like they'll come in and say like my oblique on my left side is like gone, like they don't even feel it because it's just jammed, like rib getting composed into like right into your like ilium, and so you're losing a lot of space there. So we try to do some like individual work with guys when they come up to us and they're asking for specific like mobility work or whatever, but it usually comes down to like let's try to center like a little bit of PRI based, like let's try to center their pelvic floor, right? Let's try to make sure their ribs are down. Like let's try to make sure their like abs are actually firing properly. Can they actually fully exhale with keeping their glutes turned on and making sure that their ribs stay down the whole entire time. So like these are things that like I'll touch base on with guys fair amount, but it's more on the individual work, which I think is actually really unique for me now because going from the AHL to here, it's not a ton of individual work in the AHL just because I'm a one man crew. Where here it's now guys will come up and say like, hey, my back's like bothering me, and it's like, well, I actually have like 10 to 15 minutes with this guy to work with him and to develop a new routine so we can kind of get through this. So I'll funnel back to the breath work a lot. I think that works really well. We'll do anything like even like a bird dog with like a long exhale where you're trying to like finish that breath and really feel that like activation, like the deep ab work really. And then making sure like their glutes are kicking on properly and their hip flexors are firing properly. So I think like that stuff works really, really well. I've had really good success with that. And just almost more like a blanket approach. Like if a guy comes to me, because I'm not a specific therapist in this work, but if a guy comes to me and I know that I can make sure that their posture is in good alignment and their breath's functioning pretty well, they're probably going onto the ice in a pretty good position.
Right on.
Right.
Yeah.
So like,
So
and then when they
body
go,
centration,
yep,
muscular balance,
yep.
structural alignment, that's key.
Yeah, and that's like what I'm going to focus on if a guy comes to me right away. There's other stuff too, like like they'll get a lot of guys have like FAI, they'll be really impinged in their hips. We have some like set routines that we do with that. We'll do like banded distraction work. Typically, what I do is band distraction, where we're going to try to pull the femur head like out of the socket a little bit, actually add a little bit of space, and then from there we're going to go into more kind of like FRC based work, where we're actually going to focus on keeping that tissue strong in that new range. And it's just like, I just think like create the space, lock in the space. So make sure your body's actually able to use that new space. If they can't move it slow, they're not going to be able to use it fast. So try to make sure they're able to use that new space slow.
So I'm curious in terms of like pelvic, hip, region, restrictions, abundance of movement, thinking about just the skating pattern of how much more frontal plane action
Yeah.
occurs with the hockey player. What is the common resulting effect? Is it that they're actually more restricted in the frontal plane? Is it that they have more restriction along the sagittal plane? Or is it the transverse? Do you notice that there is a pattern that emerges with the guys you've been working with?
I feel like generally speaking, it's a little bit like sagittal plane wise, they're dipped into extension. Frontal plane wise, they're slightly abducted. And then transverse wise, they're more externally rotated overall, at the hip, right? Their femur kind of follows that. So you'll see some guys walk around and their toes are just flagged all the way out.
Sure. So in the transverse plane, we'll just say, the extensors, the extensor chain around the hips are in a shortened state, and you're saying they're slightly abducted, so they're also shortened in the frontal plane.
Right.
However, in the sagittal plane, they've got length. So can you give them the opposite? Can you put them in a more hip extended, posterior tilt? Can you get them to actually adduct? Can you get
Right.
them to internally rotate, which for the most part is going to fire up that extensor chain from an eccentric
Right.
standpoint,
Right.
with the exception of the sagittal plane. Like is that like that's where my mind goes is
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
how can
Sort
I
of.
put in positions?
It's almost like do the opposite, right? It's like as
Right.
simple as that. But I think adding that breath work in helps a lot too, because that kind of locks that in, right? When you get that full extension, you actually get your like ribs to compress, you get the low ab to really kick on. I think that works really well. Like the 90-90 with like a foam roller squeeze, and then you just do like 90-90 on the wall, right? Very
Sure.
PI, but simple. Like I don't go super deep into it. Like if the guy can hammer that 2 sets of 5 reps a day, awesome. Like that's great. And then I'll also do like I said, like we'll do a bird dog with an extent, like exhale, and like trying to move in different planes. Like even sometimes we'll do like a lateral squat where you inhale and then you exhale as you come out. Right. So just kind of like trying to find different ways to like almost open up, like expand, compress, funnel into different movement strategies there and open up new ranges. There's like, I think they are all exceptional athletes, right? Obviously, they're at the top,
Obviously.
but the more that we can keep them on the ice, the more we can help them feel good, the more they can able to express their athletic ability. So there's stuff that like I like focusing on. it's not necessarily we do that for the exact team. We can talk about that too for sure. Like within the team realms, maybe that's just like an individual guy who comes to me and you're kind of doing a quick assessment, and that's like, hey, like you're all jacked up, man. You can easily tell you're jacked up. So let's do this kind of approach, see if it helps. If it does help, let's make sure we do it every day because we want to lock in the posture before we go out and skate. You can even do it after the games too to kind of make sure we're in a good position before we go to bed. But yeah, during the team, we don't have a lot of practice days. I'd say first and foremost, the way that we try to help the squad is just make sure we keep them as fresh as possible. And that might be looking at training loads, making sure when they're high. I'm thankful because I came here and our head strength coach, Matt Harder, he already has a great relationship with the coaching staff. So if we're high, he's able to talk to them and we might pull the high guys off the ice, or we might be able to say like, hey, we're just going to do like a treat and train type of day. And all we're going to do is we're going to do some of that movement that I just talked about, but we're also going to train a little bit, make sure that we feel good going into the next day. So as we kind of roll day on, day off, day on, day off, that's just how it's been right now this season with the long Olympic break coming up.
Oh, that's fantastic. Right. You got the Olympic break. I didn't even think about
Yeah.
that.
So it's pretty much
Yeah.
15 games every month, which is about 3 to 4 games a week. And then there's travel involved. So there's not a ton of opportunities to really push really hard on the players. We do a lot of post game lifts, which has been pretty good. We have like really good buy-in with that. It's pretty simple. It's very like easy strength based. We'll do a lower body push, we'll do a lower body pull, an upper body push, an upper body pull, and a core. Usually 2 to 3 sets. We just focus on consistency. Like if guys can do that 2 to 3 times a week, I have a good feeling with also the game demands that they're going to maintain physical qualities pretty well. Are they going to maintain their max strength? Maybe not perfectly, but it's close enough to what we're trying to get these guys to be able to do, right? And
Sure.
ultimately, them being able to play it matters more than anything else. So I think that's been really good for us, and we kind of go on the notion of like keep your high days high and your low days low.
I love your forward thinking. I love the progressive nature of your coaching approach in regards to working with the individuals and integrating PRI and so many other philosophies and modalities. Here's where I find, I'm not going to call it a disconnect, but it's almost like we do all of this work and then we throw them in the weight room and they just do the traditional lifts. And what I
Mhm.
mean by that is like I would love to see a player loading maybe like a step, would take a step up. Traditionally, we're just going to go forward and backward, anterior, posterior,
Yeah.
and we're going to try to reduce any of the frontal plane and transverse plane, but that's only sagittal plane loading patterns, which is not how a hockey player is going to be
Right.
tackling the ice. So with this, and not to put you on the spot here, but I'm curious as to your philosophy or your opinion of this, is I might do more of a frontal plane step up. So as they're stepping up, they're bringing their body toward that stepping leg. So we're exposing this abduction adduction opposition between the feet. Or can they do somewhat of a crossover
Right.
or inline kind of step up? So there's a little bit of rotation involved. So we're starting
Yeah.
to get all this torsion practiced in a loaded environment. Do you guys do anything like that?
A little bit here and there. So I would say in season frontal plane, it's like they get so taxed on their frontal plane that
Yes.
it's not my first notion to hit their frontal plane. Where I think like their posterior chain gets very very limited work on the ice. There you definitely still use your hamstrings on the ice, but not in the sense of like if you do an RDL, right? Say they do a single leg RDL
Yeah.
and it's contralaterally loaded. There's a lot of stability still there, right? In their posterior chain, in their core, right? Through that kind of like posterior sling, right? Where they have to stabilize. So I think there still is that sense of like creating the stability around the torsion and around the hip there and that type of movement. But I'm not necessarily going to like after they finished a game and they just did
Oh no.
right after like and that but
Totally get that.
that's when we load, right? So we load sagittal plane after games, right? We'll do bilateral, unilateral work. I would say before the game, there's guys who will do lateral work, like lateral jumps. They'll do med ball tosses. They'll do, like Kaiser lifts type stuff where we're actually rotating from the floor. We're finishing up through your hip, right? Which would look very similar to what you're saying, where you get like you're loading into your hip and out of your hip, right?
More of an activation than anything
More of
else.
an activation for sure.
Sure.
Late in the off season though, or mid off season, absolutely doing frontal plane work. We'll do like full French contrast sets of frontal plane work because it's so important to do that system, right? So that's like one whole day. We'll do change of direction on that day. We'll do a lot of med ball rotational work that day. So I just think in season though, I've gone back and forth on it, and I totally know what you're saying, where it's like they're in it, so why don't we do it? But because they do it so much, why do we
load management? You got to watch out for load management. I get you.
Right. And I think their groins and low core and hip flexors are taxed so much that if we're going to load that even more, I don't necessarily know how to respond. Where I know that if we do a dumbbell RFE split squat, they're going to be completely fine off of it. Or if we do some solid hamstring work, they're going to be fine. Or trap bar deadlift, or there's a host of things that you can do. But I know that they're going to respond well to that and feel pretty good neurally and strength wise.
We're just going to take a quick pause from this conversation to acknowledge our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. The Zelos Podcast is sponsored by Kinetic IQ, where intelligence meets motion. Kinetic IQ brings a biomechanics lab into the palm of your hand, letting you measure movement anytime, anywhere with just an iPad or iPhone. No wearables required. I've been using Kinetic IQ in my own practice, and whether you're screening athletes, optimizing performance, or guiding return to play, it helps practitioners like us save time, capture more objective data, and make instant actionable decisions. So to learn more about how Kinetic IQ is shaping the future of intelligent movement, visit kinetikiq.com. That's KINETIKIQ.com. At the forefront of Metabolic Elite is Jim Lavelle, internationally recognized clinical pharmacist, the chief science officer at Lifetime, and the co-chair for the American Academy of Anti-Aging Medicine. He's got over 4 decades of experience and has guided Olympic athletes, professional teams, and leading health institutions. You know what makes Metabolic Elite different is their commitment to real results. Like LipidTab, their proprietary solid-state liposomal delivery system. It's a chewable format which enhances absorption like nutrients like BPC 157 and synapses. They're delivered more efficiently in the body, supporting recovery, focus, cognitive health. Their formulas go beyond the basics, solving performance health challenges at the system level. Every product is tested for quality, it's backed by research, it's trusted by athletes and clinicians alike. And you can get 10% off all of Metabolic Elite products by entering the coupon code ZELOS, ZELOS. So a whole bunch of trends in our industry, strength conditioning. We've got new technology. There's a whole bunch of different methodologies, recovery strategies. Which ones, from your professional perspective, are you most excited about? Like how do you see them influencing the NHL, say, in just the next few years?
I would say recovery modalities are going to be, they already are massive, but I think they're just going to be even bigger and bigger with the way the schedule is. Next year we have 84 games instead of 82. There's so much travel involved. You're trying to keep these guys fresh. Like you're trying to keep them ready to fire on all cylinders. That's the way that you make the playoffs, and just to make it's a grind. So I think recovery, just keeping them as close to 100% as possible. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. We've had some, I don't necessarily do a lot of stuff with the recovery modalities specifically. That's a little bit more on the athletic training side. But we'll prescribe like cold tubs, hot tubs, hot, cold work. We'll prescribe sauna work. So we're trying to funnel that in. And then we obviously have like Normatex. There's pretty much everything that you can have here, but I think science-wise, it's going to keep progressing and just kind of allowing guys to stay fresher overall. The sports tech's really cool too. Like I really do like that stuff. Like we have heart rate monitors, we have Catapult. And then in-game data, we don't really get to use that through the league. So the league has this thing called SMT data. You can actually access it if you wanted to and look at guys' high speeds and everything. It's pretty cool. But we're able to like funnel those together. So we do have a really good understanding where guys are at in terms of external load movement.
That's public domain.
Yeah, you can just go on NHL Edge and it's all there. It's pretty
Wow.
cool. So you can go in and see, how far a player skated or how many 20, I think they have 18, 20, and 22-mile-an-hour bursts. So just seeing, what they do in a game. And we get the same data. It's a little different than when we see it, but it's pretty similar. So what we were able to do last year, though, is the main load that we look at on Catapult, like in practices, is just player load. And that's basically everything they do. They take a hit that goes into it. They take a shot that goes into it. They do sprints. They stop hard. That all plays into player load. That's just total load on ice. And we were able to take the load from the game data and then kind of use the predictive formula. So now we have an idea of what what everybody's doing, right? So when we say a guy is high and they've moved significantly more than they have, we have, very good confidence that that's true and that we know we can actually operate off of that number.
And in regards to all that data, does that help you determine when to load your players?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's the secret sauce right there. Like
Right?
you gotta relay everything back to the game and where the player's at. So like for instance, the main loading that we do on guys, like I said, the main group of players, they're mainly funneling on that. Like if we have a practice day, we might do like some potentiation stuff. We might do some like you could call it higher speed work, but more explosive work. Like they might do some jumping and med ball throws and that type of stuff just to excite their nervous system. But then the other main loading we're doing is post game, right? Just based off the schedule. I would love to have 3 days out from the game and be able to actually train, but we haven't had 3 days out from the game once this whole season. So not a thing for us, but yeah. So we use those numbers, especially with the lower minute players. The guys who are like in and out of the lineup, we might also be able to tell the coach like, hey, he needs more work. Like this guy needs more work to feel like he's going to be ready to play. And we have our kind of metrics set on that. And when a number gets low, it'll be flagged on the system and it's easy to see. See it's low. And then we can talk to the coaching staff and say like, hey, is this a good day to actually give them a little bit more load? Or are we going into a late night travel? Are we going into, a long trip? Do we have a game the next day? Like, because the worst thing you can do is absolutely crush a guy and then they got to play the next day fatigued, right? That's not fair to them at all. So yeah, we use those all the time, but then also based off of that, we use those numbers and kind of, it's more or less pulling back. It's talking to the players and being like, hey, you're up there, like you're kind of redlining. Let's make sure we pull back. Let's make sure maybe it's an optional morning skate or something like that, just to add opportunities, right, for that recovery window to be extended. So I think those are huge. We kind of live off those numbers. We also live off of just talking to the players, seeing how they're doing, right? That's never going to go away. No matter how many numbers you have, talking to the player matters almost the most. These guys are workhorses. Some of them can handle extreme loads and they feel better, right? But you'll never know
Sure.
that unless you go and talk to them. Like they're thoroughbreds. So they might want work in their system, right? They respond better to work in their system. You talk to guys, it's very interesting. You talk to some guys and like the rare time we get 2 days off is so interesting because half the team feels amazing afterwards and half the team feels so bad. And it's like the guys, they want load in their system to feel good. Not too much, obviously. But then
Yeah.
other guys, they're more like they're like Ferraris, right? Fill that tank up and let them go. That's it. Like that's what they love. So they respond really well to days off. So you kind of like talk to guys but then you can develop individualized plans for them, right? And seeing like where guys respond well, like, the morning skate thing is always interesting because certain players love it, certain players hate it. And it's just funny to me, but so you'll have a morning skate where a guy might be high, right? And you might say, hey, like it's probably best to like let's just do a little bit of recovery modalities today and chill, and then you got game tonight. You still have a game in the nighttime, but they say, well, I don't feel the puck well in the game, and I need so it goes into other things, right? It's not just physical. There's a lot
Right.
of cognitive stuff
Yeah.
going on up there too, and their tactical side and technical side also needs to be worked on as well. So
Right. The internal factors too, the mental, emotional.
for
Totally.
sure. And then you just
Gotcha.
win the next battle of, okay, well, let's make sure we're light on the ice. Don't go crazy. So it's kind of funny that way, but they're coming from a good place. Like they think it helps them, and it probably does. But there's also our job to kind of say, like, don't go too crazy. Like, you have a game tonight, we have a game the next day too. Like, all of these little inputs and all these little times on ice add up over the course of the season, right? But also the individual, like it might be more exposed later on in that game or the next day, right?
Okay. Great. Man, that's so much. That was so good. Let's talk the Winter Olympics. You brought it up. And NHL takes a break because a lot of the players obviously are international. They're going to represent their
Yep.
corresponding country. So, how do you got it's a month away. What do you do during the Olympics in regards to the players that aren't going off there? I mean, are there rules or regulations the NHL has placed on you guys that,
Yeah.
hey, if what's that like?
So there's like the winter, I'm trying to think of the actual break. It's about 13 or 14 days long that they're like, they don't come in at all. Like everything's shut down,
Ah,
which is really nice. I mean, it's obviously been a grind to get up to that point, but they're kind of rewarded with that. So that's really fortunate for them. And then after that, we have, I think it's about 7 days where they come in. There's like a workout on the first day, and then we skate 2 days, and then it's off, skate 2 days off, skate, and then play. So it kind of like happens kind of quick, but we try to, it's like a little bit of a mini camp almost getting back into it. And that'll be good. I think guys will have a lot of excitement because after that, it's basically a sprint. I mean, I think there's only like 20 or 25 games when that breaks over, and it's going to be fast going through that. So a lot of games, and hopefully guys feel fresh as can be and ready to rock. We do have 8 guys in the Olympics, so which is awesome for them. Super excited for them. They all are, super deserving of that. But it'll be interesting to see what that kind of toll has on those guys because they're going over there playing. I mean, some of it's harder hockey than the NHL. I don't know if you watched the Four Nations last year, but it was that was insane level of hockey.
brutal.
So fast, so technical, so hard hockey. Super fun to watch, super great for the game that they're doing it. But it'll be really curious to see just how the group responds to that when they come back.
Hmm. Okay. Speaking of speed, how about a few rapid fire questions?
Sure.
You don't have to go too deep into it, but all right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. One physical quality hockey players underestimate the most.
Mobility.
Your go-to lift or movement that always delivers when used correctly.
RFE split squat.
Most common training mistake you see from young hockey players trying to train like pros.
Uh, on the ice nonstop.
Ah. In-season priority, strength, power, or recovery, and why?
Probably recovery this year, just with the game density, but I would say usually strength. Strength's king. Keep guys
Strength
strong.
is king.
Keep guys strong. And
Oh, good. Okay. One thing fans would be surprised to learn about NHL player preparation.
it's a 24-hour job.
How about best recovery strategy that actually moves the needle during the season?
Oh, I'd say sauna and cold tub mixed together.
Contrast, nice.
Contrast.
A lesson hockey has taught you about coaching people, not just athletes.
Mm, you got to be there for people on their good days and their bad days.
Is there a technology you couldn't imagine working without or happily could?
uh, couldn't work without. I'd say catapult. Could live without.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm fine with technology. It's good.
Okay. If you could give one piece of advice to aspiring NHL S&C coaches, what would it be?
Mm, don't focus on getting answers right away. Like try to really focus on finding out the why for your own reason. I guess I mean like don't ask for answers. Find out the answers that you believe, and like don't be scared to do some like digging and research on it.
Okay, and last one. If you could steal one idea from another sports performance model, what would it be?
Uh, Sports performance model. Ooh. I think the idea of less is more. I don't know what team does it or who does it, but less is more is perfect.
Okay, let's talk about that. Man, first of all, Abe, fantastic. Way to think on your feet with those. That was awesome. I don't really ever do rapid fire questions. You're like one of the first
I like it.
victims to it. So thanks for playing along, but give me a little bit more understanding of less is more. I think I
I
know
just,
where you're going, but
yeah,
yeah.
I think it's probably pretty easy. We do a great job here, like practice load wise. Like we really try to be fair to the players. But I've been on teams before. Um, and the AHL is heavily more practice dominant. The schedule is way more allowing of practice. But like when I first started in the AHL, like we would practice a lot, and we would kind of run guys into the ground before they had to go. Right. And that's really hard on the players. It's hard on developing, right? I mean, imagine your whole life, your job depends on going and performing, and your fatigue going into it every single game. Um, what we found though is when we did less, we ended up feeling way better, feeling fresher into games, feeling better into back to backs. Even, I mean, the AHL does back to back to back. So feeling better into those. I think it's just so pivotal, and like you can get a lot out of 20 to 30 minutes on the ice or in the gym, either. I think that's something that it's hard. It's hard for us. It's hard for coaching staffs to like focal in on one point, right? Like all we're gonna do is work on X today, and that's it, and not X, Y, Z, A, B, C, everything under the sun. And I get it. Like we don't, like I said, our guys do a great job of it. But I've been on teams in the past where you kind of just, what are you getting out of it besides being tired and not feeling so great? So that's been always interesting, and I think it's important just to realize that. And even like now we're halfway through the season, so I think guys respond really well to time off, right? And just a little bit less goes a long way.
That seems to be um, almost like more about coaching philosophy and a maturation, like
Oh
over
yeah,
time, instead of just grind, grind, grind and chew them up and spit them out. It's much more player centric, would you say?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a perfect way of putting it. And in the AHL, there is that kind of grinding that you need to go through a little bit, for the most part. I mean, my last couple years though, like up in Springfield, like it was awesome. Like I mean, it was planned, right? It was planned high days and planned low days. And when it's in the plan and it's hard and it's expected, that's completely fine. That's what we're going for.
Right.
But when it's not planned, there's not a lot of thought process to it. We're not pulling back ever. That's when
That's
it's
old school
that's old school, and it's
bullshit.
fine, and it doesn't work. It clearly doesn't work. But yeah, I think that idea of like grind them up, chew them up, like I hope that's starting to get out of the game. It feels like it is. At least even from, I mean, I've been in it for 10 years now, and it seems like way back then we had a lot of 60-minute practices, and now we have 25, 30 minutes as max, and that's it.
Players are more valuable. I mean, from a money standpoint, so they're a much more valuable commodity that you don't want to. Yeah, it's like in the. I just remember growing up through the '70s and '80s with the Bruins, and of course it was so rough and tumble, but. Um, it was almost like these guys are Jeeps. They can go over any terrain. They're tough and all
Right.
that. These days, the players are more like the Ferrari that you mentioned.
Yeah.
They're a high level sports car that you need to keep finely tuned. And if something breaks down, that's a very expensive outcome that you don't want happening.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think the players have more say than they've ever had. Um, through their own CBA and PA and all their bargaining agreements, like, and rightfully so. Like you said, they're the reason why we're all here. So their abilities are exceptional, and they deserve to have their own say in anything, right? But yeah, I think you're spot on with that. Like you got to be sensitive to them and you got to understand where they're coming from. And we're trying to make them all perform at the highest speed possible, right? Everyone talks about speed. The best players in the world are arguably the fastest players too. I don't think it always works that way, but hockey is very mindset and mindful. Like you can think through the game a ways too. But yeah, I think speed's everything, and you're not going to be that fast if you're tired.
Right. Okay. At the beginning of our conversation, you said that I learned more about biomechanics before I even learned to spell the word. So you've got this 13, 14 day hiatus that's coming up. No one can report in. And you, I sense just in the time that we've been talking, have a tremendous appetite for knowledge. And so you've gone through the PRI. That seems to be quite relevant and obvious. Where else? Whether it's through the traditional academic world
Mhm.
or outside of that, where are you interested in investigating more from your own improving your professional abilities, but
Yeah.
what's got you curious?
I think that recovery stuff we're talking about is really interesting. I've been curious on like allostatic load stuff.
Oh,
This
tell me more.
just kind of the idea of like how far can we pull these players away from their normal homeostasis, right? And the thing is, these guys do it better than anybody else. They're able to deal with crazy high training loads, multiple beds, multiple late nights, and still go out and perform, right? So I think the idea of like understanding more so where they're at, right? Maybe not just looking at external and internal load, but also looking at their sleep
Sports
opportunity.
psychology?
No, yeah, I mean, sports psychology is awesome too.
No, but more
Not,
sleep patterns and that type of thing.
yeah, I like sleep patterns, but also just where are they actually at in terms of their recovery ability, right? Without maybe going like too techy, because we can't really track too much stuff with that. So
So
that's
subjective questionnaires.
yeah, I've done those before actually in the AHL.
Yeah.
And that was really good. It was early on in my career, and it was a good way to kind of understand where guys were at without digging in too much into the depth, into the weeds. But it was really good. But yeah, I don't know, just kind of understanding like more about recovery.
Okay, how about this then? Because you watch them move, you
Mhm.
get almost an intimate understanding about all the players on the team because your eyes are on them constantly. And the more you look at something, the more you see, the more it becomes revealed. And there's some times where you begin to see things in a whole new light, like how those hips move, how they hold themselves, what their posture is doing, the things we've already mentioned. Like, so do you think that gleaning that information from a more, I'll say almost an unconscious level on your part, are you able to discern where a player is without necessarily asking them? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the more that you work with like individual players, the more you can kind of like find that number. I think that's something that's like really interesting. Like in the AHL, like I would do like it was only me and one athletic trainer for a bunch of years. So I did a lot of rehab with him. I would do the on ice rehab. I would do, obviously a lot of the off ice rehab in terms of like training and bringing them back up to where they need to be. And I felt like I knew if a player was at 86% or 87% because of that. Um, and it's because it's so I was with them all the time. But here, because we have so many more hands on deck, which is great. I feel like in terms of the group walks in, you'll know when a guy's off, right? Like maybe, and it could even be, it might not even be movement wise, but also just like their tone, right? I mean, the common things are like the slumped shoulders, right? Like you can tell, like you go to give a guy a fist bump or a high five or whatever on the day, and it's not them. It's not, it's not normal for them. So I think those little touch points every single day go a long way with that. Exactly what you're saying. And then, yeah, I mean, you can be watching a guy warm up and you can just watch their face usually and they'll tell you where they're hurting. I mean, if you're going through a full movement analysis or just movement plane type of warm up and you're going through sagittal, frontal, transverse, and they wince a couple times, you can go up and be like, "Hey, what's going on? Like, you feeling all right? Yeah, my shoulder's bugging me. Like, And then that opens up a conversation, right? All right, well, hey, let's do some work on that. Let's make sure we're feeling good going onto the ice, or let's stay on top of that. So I think those everyday just little touch points with players, that's what creates those valuable insights, and seeing where guys are at and seeing how they're feeling.
Dude, that's excellent. Oh, I'm so stoked on this conversation. Honestly, this has been great, Abe. From all the answers you've given me, the insight that you've shared with me, with your own experience and coaching and your background, I'm stoked. I love connecting with guys like yourself. I
Great.
can't thank you enough for putting time aside for me, especially while you're on the road. Hey, if people want to follow you, obviously Minnesota Wild, I'll put the website there. I'll throw in your LinkedIn, your link for the LinkedIn profile. But do you do much social media? I probably don't have any
I'm
time.
not very common onto the social media. I got logged off probably like 2 years ago and never got back on. So that was that for me. But
Wise man.
yeah, LinkedIn's totally good with me. I usually respond to people on that, so that's always good with me. And yeah, it's great getting to chat with you.
Ah, so good. Yeah. Thank you so much, and good luck this week against the Kraken. Of course, they're in the Western Conference with the Sharks, so anybody that can bring them down, I'm very happy about that.
Yeah,
And we'll see you in the playoffs. Let's hope.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
And just like that, another episode in the books. I can't thank Abe enough. And hats off to the Minnesota Wild for allowing this to happen. If you want to find out more about Abe or the Wild, of course, check out the description or the links in the description below. And here's one more note from our sponsors. We'll see you next week. Remember to check out metabolicelite.co. Check out all the products they have on their website. Synapsin Pro is something I've been using to help stay focused without having to over-caffeinate myself. It keeps me in the zone so I can just really hone in on the things I need to achieve without feeling like, man, I gotta reach for an energy drink every 5 minutes. Metabolicelite.co. And don't forget, Kinetic IQ. They've got markerless motion capture for morons like me. I can use their product with my iPhone or my iPad. I can look at posture analysis, movement analysis of any exercise, gait analysis. It gives me everything I could possibly want when tracking people's movements. So, check out kineticiq.com.